Hello and a very warm welcome to a brand new edition of World Panorama with me, Frank Pereira, on Rajya Sabha Television. Over the next half an hour, we're going to bring you a roundup of all the significant events to have taken place across the world this week. But first up, a look at the headlines. US asks Pakistan to do more against terror. Pakistan assures US Secretary of State John Kerry it won't differentiate between good and bad terrorists. Government says it will ban 12 terror groups. First issue of Charlie Hebdo since the attack becomes a sellout. French President François Hollande declares that his country is obligated to protect all religions. Muslim leaders object to new cartoons of the magazine. Turkey launches scathing verbal attack on Israel, compares Benjamin Netanyahu to the Paris terrorists. Israel calls on the world to condemn remarks. Suspected jihadists killed in Belgium raid. 2 men die after they opened fire on police who believe the group was about to launch a major terror attack. And nominations for the 87th Academy Awards announced in Los Angeles. Birdman and the Grand Budapest Hotel score big with 9 nominations each. Well, Pakistan may soon announce a ban on terror outfits like Jamaat-ud-Dawa and Afghan-based Haqqani network. According to reports, LET is also on the list of more than 10 such outfits to be banned by Pakistan. The reports have come only days after US Secretary of State John Kerry insisted that Pakistan takes effective action against these groups. Here's more.
Terror groups like the Pakistani and Afghan Taliban, the Haqqani network, Lashkar-e-Taiba, and other groups continue to pose a threat not just to Pakistan and its neighbors, but also to the United States and the world. The task is a difficult one, and it is not done. We all have a responsibility to ensure that these extremists are no longer able to secure a foothold in this country or elsewhere.
On Tuesday, US made it amply clear to Pakistan that it has to take effective steps against terror outfits to protect global interests in the South Asia region. Sharing the stage with Pak Foreign Advisor Sartaj Aziz, Kerry said all extremist groups should be targeted equally. On Thursday, there were reports of Pakistan planning to ban more than 10 such outfits. They include outfits like LET, which carried out the 26/11 Mumbai attacks in 2008. The announcement is set to be made soon at a time when US President Barack Obama is set to visit the subcontinent. Experts welcomed the report, calling it a more definite step by Pakistan against terror outfits.
After 16th December attack on Army Public School in Peshawar, the Pakistan Army has been going hammer and tongs against all Taliban. And for a change, they have eradicated the distinction between good and bad Taliban. And this shows that at least as far as western borders are concerned, Pakistan is serious as far as eradication of all radical outfits are concerned.
India has long been demanding a ban on the Hafiz Saeed-led JUD, which is accused of masterminding the 2008 Mumbai terror attacks. Both New Delhi and Washington have long considered JUD a front for the Lashkar-e-Toiba terror outfit. US had also designated Mullah Fazlullah, chief of Tehreek-e-Taliban Pakistan, a global terrorist and slapped sanctions on him. The number of proscribed outfits in Pakistan will reach to 72. Bureau Report, Rajya Sabha TV.
Well, joining me for a chat on this very subject this week on the program is former Ambassador B.S. Prakash. Welcome, Ambassador, and thank you for joining me on the program.
Thank you.
You know, there have been conflicting reports coming out of Pakistan and the world media as well about, the ban on terror groups in Pakistan. All through the week, we've seen several reports coming out stating that, there will be 12 terror groups who are going to be banned, 10 terror groups, some saying terror groups have already been banned. Finally, on Friday, we got some kind of a confirmation saying that the Haqqani network has been banned. But, all of this has come after John Kerry's visit to Pakistan. So it looks like there is considerable pressure on Pakistan from the US administration.
I would agree with that assessment, Frank, but let's also remember that the Peshawar incident has been a kind of a milestone. It has caused some internal, hopefully, a kind of repostulation, but certainly it has been a big setback for Pakistan, for the establishment, for the army as well, because as we know, it was a major outrage. It was directed against the army. This is an incident which happened in Peshawar after all, so others cannot be blamed, and it is only certain sections of the Taliban which can be blamed, and they claim credit for it also. So there has been rethinking on Pakistan's part. And it is a fact that the Kerry visit was a kind of a, again, a decisive kind of a landmark in this process. So I think there are both these. Some kind of an internal pressure within Pakistan also to take firm action against terrorist groups. May not be all, but against some. Certainly against the Pakistani Taliban. And as one knows now, there is a national action plan. Government is behind it. The army says that it also will carry out the national action plan. And they have been taking some steps and carrying out these operations against certain groups and some terrorist entities. Now, I think Kerry made a very important point and an essential point, and we saw that in your clip. And he said that Pakistan must act against all terrorist groups, not only the Pakistani terrorist groups, but those which are against the interests of Afghanistan, India, and the US.
Yes.
And he said this very clearly, and the three are significant: Afghanistan, India, and the US. And that would necessarily mean actually groups like Lashkar-e-Toiba or the JUD, groups acting against the US, which are very many. And therefore, this differentiation and distinction between either the good and the bad kind of terrorists or those with specific interests, Kerry stressed that this is not sustainable.
You know, you brought up Lashkar-e-Toiba and Jamaat-ud-Dawa. You know, the latest report suggests that Pakistan has said they're not going to take any action against JUD because JUD is not a terrorist organization. So as far as India is concerned, I mean, this is a setback, isn't it?
It is, and I saw those reports, and in fact, to be very honest, one was a bit surprised, but pleasantly surprised by the misleading reports in the Indian press yesterday or day before, which said that among these lists would be, you know, JUD.
Yes.
But then, no less the person than the Pakistan Minister for Defense Production seems to have said in a direct interview with one of the Indian newspapers, but no, actually there is misunderstanding. Jamaat-ul-Dawa is a charitable organization. They do philanthropic work. So they're back to this kind of a differentiation that we are familiar with. In fact, in any case, I think people know that, you know, just designating a terrorist entity or naming a terrorist entity or putting it on a list is not good enough.
Yes.
Because they can easily change their name, they can change their bank account, they can change the way in which the operations are carried out. So there needs to be not only political will, but a kind of a determination that we are going to go after these people.
But do you think this time around they are determined? I mean, you did speak about December 16th, the Peshawar massacre. After that, do you think the Pakistan administration is a little more determined?
We will have to watch and see, but given Pakistan's track record and given this very disappointing news report that we are seeing, and as I said, by the Defense Production Minister, already disassociating themselves, saying that there is lack of evidence, there is no evidence against the JUD and it is a charitable organization. It is difficult to be hopeful. It is difficult to believe that there is a firm commitment to go against all terrorist groups. There is still this tendency perhaps for differentiation, those against Afghanistan, those against the US, and perhaps those against India. And again, those groups which have good relations, historical relations, or which are what the army calls strategic assets. I mean, it's a fact that we know that the army and the ISI have regarded some terrorist groups as assets.
Yes.
And I think going back to Kerry's predecessor, Hillary Clinton, she had said, and I think she had said it quite rightly, that you cannot really have snakes in your backyard and expect them to only bite, you know, some people whom you want.
Yes.
They are dangerous in any case. And one has to believe that there will be a realization one day, hopefully sooner than later, that you cannot do this. But I can't be confident. I cannot really, none of us can give the kind of assurance to our viewers that there is that firm determination that you referred to.
We'll have to leave it at that, Ambassador. Thank you so much for joining us on the program this week and sharing your views on this very crucial subject.
Thank you, Frank.
Moving on now, of course, French President François Hollande on Thursday said they were obligated to protect all religions in France, especially Muslims. Hollande said Muslims were the first victims of fanaticism. His reaction followed some Muslim leaders objecting to what they called provocative cartoons featured in the magazine Charlie Hebdo.
French President François Hollande reaching out to the Muslim community, thanking them for their solidarity over the terror attacks in Paris. Speaking at the Arab World Institute, Hollande pledged to protect all religions in their land. He said Muslims have been the main victims of extremism.
Nous devons aussi rappeler, et chaque fois je l'ai fait, partout où je me suis déplacé dans le monde arabe, que l'islam est compatible avec la démocratie, que nous devons refuser les amalgames et les confusions. Et d'abord en France.
Across the Middle East, Muslim leaders have denounced the Paris attack. But some were also angered by the latest edition of the newspaper Charlie Hebdo, calling it an open provocation.
Many voices in the Muslim world express the feeling that they have been offended by the republishing of that man. That is a healthy and rightful position to take. But no one is calling to take any harmful action against the magazine.
The new edition of the paper has a cartoon of a bearded man weeping while holding a sign saying "I am Charlie" with the headline "All is forgiven." In the wake of the attack that killed 17, France is set to announce a set of anti-terrorism measures next week. New resources will be released for surveillance, and France could look at widening the policy of isolating radical prisoners. Bureau Report, Rajya Sabha TV.
Well, a week after the terror mayhem in France, there are signals of neighbouring Belgium being the next target. High alert has been sounded after a major anti-terror raid in which 2 suspected Islamist militants were killed. Anti-terror raids are being conducted across the country. Yes, ma'am.
For residents of the lazy Verviers town of eastern Belgium, it was a night straight out of the movies. These pictures were taken by a neighbour through his window. A police raid on a terrorist hideout in a house in the area, a gun battle and muzzle flashes. 2 men were killed, a 3rd man was arrested. No other injuries reported.
J'ai entendu des fusillades, des explosions et ça devient grave. Ici à Verviers, il n'y a jamais rien eu de tel et ça fait un peu peur. Je vais dire, moi j'ai des enfants, ma femme devait aller aujourd'hui à la FGTB, je vais dire reste à la maison, je ne sors pas parce que...
Police recovered 4 Kalashnikov rifles, bomb-making equipment and police clothing from the spot, indications of bigger terror plans. The men had reportedly returned from Syria and were planning attacks on police targets. Similar raids were carried out across the country. A nationwide security alert has been raised to level 3 on a scale of 4.
Les perquisitions se sont effectuées dans le cadre d'une enquête portant sur une cellule opérationnelle composée de personnes dont certaines revenaient de Syrie. L'enquête a permis de déterminer que ce groupe était sur le point de commettre des attentats terroristes d'envergure.
Earlier on Thursday, 2 suspected Islamists were arrested in a Brussels suburb. Belgian officials say more than 300 Belgian nationals had gone to Syria and Iraq to fight with Islamic groups there, perhaps a reason for the attacks. Protection and security are the big focus areas right now.
Nous n'avons pas connaissance de menaces concrètes et spécifiques. Toutefois, compte tenu de la situation, nous pouvons considérer qu'il est utile d'élever le niveau de prudence et de vigilance. Ça signifie concrètement que des mesures complémentaires de protection et de sécurité seront prises.
The terror alert in Belgium comes a week after attacks in neighbouring France that killed 17 people. Belgian officials say no weapon links with the killings have been established for now, but fears persist that the Belgium target may have been inspired by the killings in France. Bureau Report, Rajya Sabha Television.
Well, it's time for a short break on the program right now, but still to come. Birdman and the Grand Budapest Hotel lead the race for this year's Oscars with 9 nominations each. More coming up on the other side. Stay tuned. We'll be right back. Welcome back. You're watching Rajya Sabha Television. Well, the attack on Charlie Hebdo and a kosher supermarket in Paris that left 17 people dead has set off a new political war of words between Turkey and Israel. Turkish Prime Minister Ahmet Davutoglu has compared his Israeli counterpart Benjamin Netanyahu to the terrorists who carried out the Paris attack. Here's more.
Turkish Prime Minister Ahmet Davutoglu has compared his Israeli counterpart Benjamin Netanyahu to the terrorist who killed 17 people in Paris last week. Davutoglu says both the terrorist and Netanyahu have committed crimes against humanity. The Turkish Prime Minister said Israel's bombardment of Gaza and its deadly assault on a Turkey-led aid convoy to the Gaza Strip in 2010, in which 10 Turks were killed, were on a par with the Islamist attacks in France.
Paris'te katliam yapan teröristler ne kadar insanlık suçu işlemişlerse, Gazze'de plajda oynayan çocukları hava bombardımanıyla katleden, binlerce evi yok eden, her fırsatta Filistinliyi öldürmeyi neredeyse doğal hale getiren ve bizim için
Israel has refused to take the criticism and the comparison lightly. Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu urged world leaders to condemn Turkey's anti-Israel rhetoric.
ולדברים החמורים של נשיא טורקיה ארדואן מצטרף היום גם ראש הממשלה שלו. ועד לרגע זה לא שמעתי גינוי בקהילה הבינלאומית לדברים פסולים אלה. אני מבקש לומר שיהיה ברור שאם הקהילה הבינלאומית לא תגנה את אלה שמביעים תמיכה בטרור.
Earlier, Turkish President Recep Tayyip Erdogan had also criticized Israel for participating in the March of Solidarity with world leaders in Paris. Once allies, relations between Turkey and Israel came a cropper when the Turkish aid convoy was attacked by Israel. Bureau Report, Rajya Sabha Television.
Well, much else has been unfolding around the world. Here's a quick wrap of the other international news of the week.
The House of Representatives has voted to pass a bill that would effectively roll back President Obama's recent immigration initiatives. The bill still needs to go to the Senate for approval, and the White House has said the president will veto it. Obama announced in November that he would use his executive authorities to enact sweeping immigration changes. Republicans in the House say that the president's actions overreach his authority and are unconstitutional. A man has been arrested from Ohio for planning an attack on the U.S. Capitol in Washington. 20-year-old Christopher Cornell was arrested by the FBI on charges of attempting to kill a U.S. government official. According to government documents, he allegedly planned an IS-inspired attack to place pipe bombs at and near the U.S. Capitol and use firearms to kill employees and officials inside. Cornell came under the FBI radar after tweeting support for extremist groups. The Islamic State released a video purporting to show a child executing two men accused of being Russian spies who tried to infiltrate the militant organization in Syria. The authenticity of the video released by the site monitoring service could not be verified. The video was titled "Uncovering an Enemy Within" and features two men who appear to acknowledge they work for Russian security services. One of the men says he was recruited by Russia's Federal Security Service to get close to an unidentified Islamic State fighter. Legislators in China's far western Xinjiang province have passed a law to prohibit residents from wearing burqas in public. The new ban in Urumqi was approved by local legislators last month and given the green light by the regional legislature this week. The ordinance name suggests it targets outer garments covering someone's full body, including the face. A spate of recent violent incidents has rocked Xinjiang, a resource-rich region long inhabited by the Turkish-speaking, largely Muslim Uyghurs. Pope Francis gave Sri Lanka its first saint on Wednesday at a mass for hundreds of thousands of people packed on a Colombo oceanfront in a climax to a 300-year campaign to recognize the holiness of Joseph Vaz. The Pope told the hushed crowd that Vaz was an example of religious tolerance relevant to Sri Lanka. Vaz, who was captured as a suspected spy after he crept into the tropical island in disguise, was born in 1651 in Goa. He was beatified by Pope John Paul II during a visit to Sri Lanka 20 years ago.
Well, it's time now to bring you up to speed with all the other sports news that you might have missed this week. Here's our sports wrap. World number one Novak Djokovic and Serena Williams will be the top seeds for the Australian Open starting next week. Djokovic is bidding for his fifth title at Melbourne, while Serena is gunning for her sixth Australian Open crown. Evergreen Roger Federer, who has a record 17 Grand Slam titles, is the second seed ahead of injury-plagued Rafael Nadal, Wawrinka and Japan's Kei Nishikori. Maria Sharapova, who won the Brisbane International last weekend, takes the number 2 seeding among the women, ahead of Simona Halep, Petra Kvitova and Anna Ivanovic. Australia's three-time World Cup winner Adam Gilchrist has heaped praise on South African captain A.B. de Villiers, describing him as the most valuable cricketer on the planet. Gilchrist also tipped Australia's Mitchell Marsh to make a big impact in the World Cup alongside David Warner, while he believed that India's MS Dhoni and Virat Kohli would have a big say in the tournament too. Australia and New Zealand will host the quadrennial event for the first time in 23 years next month. West Indies chief cricket selector Clive Lloyd has said the omission of Dwayne Bravo and Kieron Pollard from the ICC World Cup squad is no act of victimization for their roles in the controversial abandoned tour of England. Bravo and Pollard were not named in the 15-man squad announced to contest the World Cup, which starts in Australia and New Zealand from February 14. Bravo and Pollard were also overlooked for the 5-match ODI series against South Africa. Let's shift focus now. The nominations for the 87th Academy Awards were announced on Thursday in Los Angeles. Birdman and the Grand Budapest Hotel lead the pack with 9 nominations each. The award ceremony will take place on February 22nd. Neil Patrick Harris will host the awards. Here's more.
Inarritu's genre-defying film Birdman and Wes Anderson's The Grand Budapest Hotel are the films to beat at the 87th Oscars set for 27th of February. The two films scored the maximum 9 nominations apiece. Birdman earned 9 nods, including Best Picture, and nominations for its 3 main actors, Michael Keaton, Emma Stone and Edward Norton. The Imitation Game, in another strong showing, had 8 nominations, including Best Picture, Best Director as well as Best Actor. Boyhood had 6, scoring heavily in the major categories.
Hey, stop! Put the barrier up! I don't wanna be your hero.
Don't worry about it.
Looks like you can use the bumper.
Grand Budapest Hotel, they led the race with 9 nominations each. That wasn't a total surprise because people really love those movies and they're so spectacular to look at. So I'm not surprised they got nominations.
The shortlist for Best Picture includes American Sniper, Birdman, Boyhood, The Grand Budapest Hotel, Selma, Whiplash, The Imitation Game and The Theory of Everything.
Come on, get up.
Morning, Brian.
Stephen, are you aware that you've voluntarily embarked upon a PhD in physics?
I'm a cosmologist.
What's that?
I study the marriage of space and time.
The perfect couple.
However, Ava DuVernay's moving biopic about Martin Luther King Jr., Selma, was snubbed for Best Director. Had DuVernay been nominated, it would have made her the first black woman to be nominated in the category.
In the director's race, I was really surprised Clint Eastwood, Ava DuVernay for Selma, and David Fincher, who directed Gone Girl. I really thought they were going to get nominated, and they deserve to be, but you know, everybody who's in that race deserves to be there too. So it was an interesting year for film.
Among the actors, Michael Keaton received a nomination for his bravura turn as Regan Thompson in Birdman, an aging screen superhero seeking salvation on the stage.
Let's go back one more time and show them what.
Eddie Redmayne, a fellow winner at the Golden Globes on Sunday, was nominated for playing the physically crushed but cerebrally soaring Stephen Hawking in The Theory of Everything.
Wind back the clock.
Keep going.
I don't know how.
Yet.
Keep winding.
Where's who?
Benedict Cumberbatch from The Imitation Game, Steve Carell from Foxcatcher, and Bradley Cooper from American Sniper rounded out the field. Among the women, the Academy's nominations went to Marion Cotillard for 2 Days, One Night, Felicity Jones for The Theory of Everything, Julianne Moore for Still Alice, Rosamund Pike for Gone Girl, and Reese Witherspoon for Wild. Meanwhile, there was disappointment for India as music maestro A.R. Rahman, who has won 2 Oscars, failed to score a nod in the Best Original Score category. Rahman had made it to the list of 114 probables for 3 of his films, including Hollywood movies The 100-Foot Journey and $1 Million Arm, and Rajnikant starrer Tamil film Kottadiyan. Bureau Report, Rajya Sabha TV.
Here's a look now at what's creating a buzz in the world of show business. Here's our entertainment roundup.
Indie films and quirky TV dramas won big at the Golden Globes Sunday night, as some of the biggest risks that film and television producers have taken in recent years were rewarded. Director Richard Linklater's life drama Boyhood took home 3 trophies, while nuanced television series like Transparent, The Affair and Fargo also won multiple awards. The film beat fellow nominees Selma, The Imitation Game, The Theory of Everything and Foxcatcher. Linklater's 12 years in the making coming-of-age film about a young boy growing up in Texas was nominated for 5 awards. The sequel to 2009 hit Avatar has been delayed by a year and will not be released until 2017, according to James Cameron. The Oscar-winning director of Aliens and Titanic said he's working on 3 new Avatar films at the same time. The first film was supposed to be out in December 2016, but Cameron said writing the stories had become very involving. The director added that the goal was to have the scripts for the 3 movies completed by the end of this month so that filming can begin. The 4th entry in the Transformers franchise leads this year's Razzie nominations, which singles out the worst movies of the last 12 months. Transformers Age of Extinction, which made more than $1 billion at the worldwide box office, has 7 nominations including Worst Picture and Screenplay. Director Michael Bay has also been nominated for a Razzie, which was launched in 1980 as a spoof of the Oscars. Kirk Cameron's Saving Christmas and The Legend of Hercules received 6 nods. George Lucas has revealed he originally wanted to direct the new Star Wars sequel. The filmmaker, who sold Lucasfilm to Disney for £2.5 billion in 2012, admits he had begun planning a 7th film. The 70-year-old decided against it after realizing that heading up a new trilogy would require a commitment of 10 years. J.J. Abrams, who co-created Lost and directed the Star Trek reboot, is heading up the franchise's latest installment.
Well, subway users in Barcelona were surprised when a crowd of around 150 people jumped in and took off their pants as a part of the annual international flash mob No Pants subway ride. This initiative, which started as a small prank in 2002 with only 7 participants, has grown into a wide celebration of silliness with dozens of cities around the world participating every year. I'm going to leave you with these visuals. See you again next week.